Hello, everyone, and welcome to this program. It's hosted by Vegan Spirituality and No Meat and Mingle meetups. And my name's Lisa Levinson. I'm one of your hosts this evening, and we're sharing this program with everyone. It's called Corona Conversations, and our idea was to discuss and share among our community members what it's like to be sheltering in place and how we think that this new world, basically after the coronavirus hit, is going to impact vegan conversations going forward. Maybe this will be a tipping point for all of us. So we'd like to hear from everyone in our community to share your experiences. I know that this has been really affected people very differently. For some of us, life hasn't changed very much, whereas for others, it's been very drastically different. Even losing jobs and struggling in very serious ways and with health and wellness. So we wanted to support one another and offer an opportunity to share and discuss and to receive a kindness and compassion when we really need it. So my name's, again, Lisa Levinson. I host the Vegan Spirituality Group in Los Angeles, and we have people here from our LA group and also from our Philadelphia group and from communities around the country. And also we've got Dave Rubin. Can you tell us a bit about you and your group, Dave?
Hey, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Dave Rubin. I organize vegan events in Los Angeles. I endeavor to support people to make some connections of what I think it would take for humans to have live in a more, for humans to have peace, which is to extend the circle of compassion around all beings and to shift the way we judge instead of judging rightness or wrongness, judging if what we're doing, what somebody else is doing, serves life or our values for love and compassion. And I organize vegan events in Los Angeles, most of all the No Meat and Mingle vegan events and the events that I co-organize with Lisa. So it's just an opportunity for the community to connect with each other and for new people who aren't necessarily vegan to try some vegan food, connect with the community and see what all that's about. So I see it as a kind of activism, a way to spread veganism and to connect community. So hoping that this virtual event will help us stay connected during this shelter-in-place period.
Yeah, so Dave's right about that. We're usually meeting in person and having this opportunity to share delicious vegan food and also to talk with one another. And our vegan spirituality group usually hosts a speaker or an activity, and so we've had to put that on hold, and we missed each other, so we really wanted to have our communities join together. Actually, one of our recent events was we celebrated the 2020 for New Year's Eve, our two groups, the vegan No Meat and Mingle group and also vegan spirituality, and so we were very excited about the prospect of what was going to be happening in 2020, that we were going to be building a foundation for veganism for the next decade. And so this Corona experience has really been different than what we expected. So we thought it might be interesting to hear from your perspectives how it's been for you. What has happened in your life as related to this? And what do you think it means for the world? So if anyone feels like they'd like to share, you are welcome to unmute yourself. You can share your webcam if you're comfortable to do that. And we'll just kind of, go around. You can speak up if you'd like to do that, or I can call on people if they'd like to share a little bit about their thoughts. Does anybody want to share?
Hi, I'll share.
Okay, tell us your name so we can just figure out who you are on this and all the people here.
My name is Leslie, and I am a whole food plant-based, no oil person, along with my partner Phil, who's joining me here next to me. And so we are also leaders of a meetup group called Plant-Based Los Angeles, and we've converted over to a Zoom meeting as well as instead of an in-person meeting, which you can imagine because we are sheltering in place. I have not been out of my neighborhood since March 17th. So we are taking that to heart. And since we're plant-based, it's super easy because we belong to a CSA. We have every week a box of fresh fruits and veggies delivered to our house from Farm Fresh to You. And we have been a member of their group for almost 20 years. And so every week for almost 20 years, I've been getting a box of organic fruits and veggies from Farm Fresh to You. And since we don't eat only plants, we eat a lot of grains and beans. So we buy them by the 25-pound bag. And we have more than enough to last us for the duration. So we've been fine. And we've been actually helping other people get food as well, either from our supplies or from our Farm Fresh Food box. And so we're making sure that, people that we know who might need that assistance are getting that assistance. And other than that, I'm working at home, so I've adapted that way instead of going into an office. And my office, I just set up a card table and took everything that was personal off my desk and moved it onto the card table. And so my regular desk is now taken over by work stuff, laptop, monitors, paper, etc. And so that's been a bit of adjustment, but I have to tell you, I love the commute. My car is basically not moving. It just sits there in the driveway, in the garage. And so that's worked out really well in terms of my gas mileage. It is almost zero. So we're adapting in all the different ways. And I got myself a Zoom account so I can Zoom with family. So I gave my mom a tour. She lives in Florida and can't travel. I gave her a tour of our house. I said, "Here, Mom," and she was so excited. So it's fun to connect with people. We have Zoom family dinners for the family all over the country. Everybody joins, whereas if we weren't in a pandemic, we would have been just doing them with the local people. But now going forward, we're going to start including all the people from around the country so everybody can join us, because we are learning from this experience about how we can do things more virtually. So it has a lot of pluses for us. The negative is that I can't go see my granddaughters and have them come over and visit me because we're at higher risk because we're older. And so as soon as this thing lifts, my granddaughters are going to be here. You know it.
Yay.
That's the hard part, is not being able to reach out and give them hugs. So I'll turn it over to somebody else, but thank you for letting me share.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for telling us about some of the pros and the cons to sheltering in place for you. Yeah. Anybody else? You're welcome just to start talking. That's fine. Although
Hi.
Hi, tell us your name.
I'm Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi, how are you? Are we talking about the pros and cons of sheltering in place?
What has it been like for you? What's the experience? And if you want to share anything that you think how it will impact our vegan message or anything like that, that's fine too.
Well, I think more people are going to become vegan because of, they're seeing how problematic the virus is in the factories, and people are getting sick there, so they're shutting those down. So a lot of people are going to probably have to try the vegan diet, whether they like it or not, and then they'll find out they can actually do it. So that's a pro.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've been working on my research for school and getting my PhD. And the pro has been that I haven't been out socializing, and I've been finally getting it done. So yeah, I'm happy about that. But missing hugs from everyone. Mm-hmm. So that's the sad part, missing seeing everyone in person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's nothing like a real hug. I've had a bunch of virtual ones, but the real...
Yeah, missing hugs too.
Yeah. Well, tell us how you're doing. James, do you want to share?
Yeah.
Does anyone else want to share? Maybe James?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't trying to cut off. Yeah, no, I was just trying to get my sister on, but she's not able to get on yet. Yeah, I'm Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm lucky I get to work from home, but it's getting a little old still, because you're at home and then you're at home again, But I'm lucky because I have a hiking and mountain biking trail nearby. I can go there every day. And otherwise, I go crazy, I think. But definitely missing the hugs and the vegan potlucks and all the good stuff. Feels a little bit weird after a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate. Well, lucky you to have open trails there. Most of ours in the Santa Monica Mountains
Yeah,
have construction tape over them and barricades, and you're forbidden to go on them. So it's great to have that connection with nature.
yeah. Sorry, your parks are closed there. Maybe not too much
Yeah.
longer though.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, James. Does anyone else want to follow up or comment about how they're doing?
We could go.
Yeah. Remember to say your name.
So I'm Raimi. On Facebook, I'm Elizabeth Darcy, but like in person, you can call me. I answer to either one, but. And then this is Alex. We met in a vegan group on Facebook a few years ago.
Wow, how great. Congratulations.
And it's, so he actually got hired with started in his first post-grad school job like less than 2 weeks before this started, and moved and all of that. So, and I'm from Southern California, like, you know, you guys' area. And then, but we're up in Berkeley right now. And he has his job out in Emeryville. So that started like right away. I came up with the intent of spending 2 weeks up here, and things are a little bit different now. We've been long distance for up until then. So, but we got to explore a little bit, and it's a very vegan friendly, it's like a super vegan friendly town. Like just walking around the neighborhood, you just find like new vegan places. Like it's really, I like this area a lot. But I'm a massage therapist, so I can't work for at least a few months. So I'm figuring out the unemployment thing, because now I qualify, because they didn't used to allow independent contractors to apply for unemployment. So that will be good. But yeah, this one, he's been feeding me and stuff. So.
In more ways than one.
Oh.
Aw, yeah.
Yeah.
And but it's been super stressful. Like not being able to be anything resembling self-sufficient has been extremely stressful. I was not planning on doing that anytime soon or ever. Like that was not what I was looking to do. So for me, like financial dependence on a partner is extremely stressful. But he's been very supportive. So yeah, and I did make one trip down to Southern California because I only had one carload of stuff here, so I had hardly any clothes and stuff. A lot of my room was in my car was spent like with Darcy's cage.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Do you want to show Darcy? I don't know if she's still.
Oh yeah,
Mr. Darcy.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, like Darcy is my companion animal and my emotional support animal, and I've had Darcy for about 7 years. What did he do?
Nothing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've had Darcy about 7 years. He landed on someone at a park. What are you doing? Come here.
Oh, well, that's amazing to hear his story. So you rescued him. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was offered to me as like a foster while they looked for his, and we never found him, and so I just kept him. The last couple of years, he's had some health issues, and so he's actually been like in the cone of shame for a couple of years, and we recently were able to get it back on, no, to take it off. He started mutilating. He started mutilating his feet a couple years ago, and so he was doing really well for a couple months, but like he started biting his feet again. So we're actually gonna put it back on tonight to let his foot heal. But
Aw.
he's,
Yeah. Well, he's lucky he found you.
yeah, he's I mean, he's definitely my. It's been mutually beneficial. He's a little goblin, though.
Aw.
And Alex has like adopted him as his son, so that's good.
Wonderful. Well, it seems like a happy family there,
Yeah.
although it is kind of stressful to suddenly, suddenly you're together and suddenly it's a lot of what to do with the job situation. I think you're not alone in that. I bet other people on the call also are struggling with that.
Yeah, I'd been underemployed for over a year while I applied for work, and then 2 weeks into training for this new position, and everything was take your stuff home. You're working from home for the foreseeable future.
Wow.
And I work in like agricultural auditing for sustainability within like plant agriculture, and having audits that are supposed to be taking place in Latin America and across the United States when travel is no longer possible. Like adapting to that's been really interesting.
Oh yeah. So it's tricky. You have a position, but then it's not the way you expected it.
Yeah, and
anyone.
Yeah, nobody expected it. I mean, I started training for a position and then started inventing how we were going to manage things as a new employee.
Wow. Yeah. Well, thanks to both of you for checking in with us. It's so nice to see you guys, and also Mr. Darcy. And just want to see if anyone else wants to check in, anyone else wants to share how they're doing or talk about, veganism in this new COVID world.
Hi, I'm Marina. I wanted to share some of the things that I've had the opportunity to participate in. As we all know, Earth Day, the 50th anniversary just passed, and they had some really wonderful events that went virtual really quickly that I found through Meetup. And so I got to listen to a lot of really amazing doctors and even like young activists that shared about, this was actually through a different summit. It was like a climate summit was 1 week, and then the following week was Earth Day. And so I ended up getting into 2 different events that kind of like fortunately spanned over a week. And so there was every day new speakers that came out, and got to listen to Miyoko talk about her her products and what she's been doing. So it was really exciting. And so in those conversations and in some of those talks that I've heard, I started sharing some of the things with a coworker that I've become kind of close with during this quarantine, and we chat a lot. So I started sharing some of this with her. Some of those talks were only available for 24 hours, so she wasn't able to do those. And then some of the other ones were a little too long. And then Bill Maher summed it up in like a 10-minute segment that I sent to her, and it like really hit her hard. And so it was really amazing to just see that it's finally coming to, I think like somebody else, like Michelle, I think mentioned, it's finally coming to meat eaters' attention that this zoonotic transmission of diseases, which is mainly the topic I'm kind of getting into, where, the diseases that we are quarantined and kind of tortured by right now are because of how we treat animals. And so a lot of the speakers talking about those things, I think for me was a reality check, but then seeing somebody who's a meat eater and is really stunned and like almost like to the point where she's like, okay, like, I mean, she can't make the change overnight. She's said as much, and every time we've talked about it, she kind of makes me feel like I'm pushing her into something. I'm like, look, I'm just giving you information. Here it is. but this time it really hit her hard, and I thought that was she's, you know, she basically is gonna essentially start to move and transition away from as much meat as she can. So I think that was a huge positive. I haven't been eating out because I do cook, so I'm able to make all my meals at home, which makes me feel somewhat guilty because I'm not supporting the local vegan restaurants. But it's been, like, I think some of the Leslie talked about with the CSA, having farm fresh delivered. It's been really not difficult. And so I do see some of those things that, oh, there's no food in the markets. And yes, the meat sections are empty, but we can survive with vegetables, people. Like, it's going to be okay. So I think also my coworker, Rachel, she had started to see the articles coming out about how bad the meat farm factories are, and like how bad they're badly they're regulated with COVID right now. So it's really just all coming together, and I hope it happens sooner for more people to help with switching people over to plant-based, vegan, whatever you want to call it, just stop eating animals. So I'm seeing a little bit of a silver lining, that people are getting more educated and informed about this. So I'm optimistic about it.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing about your own experience and also bringing in like what's going on in the world. You were just able to really stay connected through some of those online events. Yeah. Anybody else want to comment on that or share your experience?
Sure. Hi, my name is Carrie. I'm zooming in from New York City, one of the hot zones. And I'm actually in Midtown, so I feel pretty insulated because I don't have to worry about family or it's just myself. And so in that sense, I feel fortunate. Probably the only time I kind of felt verklempt was when early on back in March when I was walking through Times Square and I saw the same clothes that H&M had from 2 weeks ago. So I know that sounds superficial, but it's like, oh, it's like a dead zone. It's like that scene in that Tom Cruise movie where there's literally no one in Times Square. So it was very surreal, and that's kind of when it kind of hit me. But I think on the world scheme of things, the global scheme of things, I'm very curious to know, and if maybe anyone else can answer to this. I keep seeing these reports of China banning the consumption of wild animals in certain cities or certain provinces, but I don't know how true these reports are, because China wasn't very forthcoming with the virus in the first place. So I don't know. Does anyone have firsthand knowledge? Have friends who live in China who've talked to this, like activists?
So anyone's welcome to talk. I work for In Defense of Animals. This is Lisa Levinson, one of the hosts, and I think we heard reports that those wet markets were reopened. So they might have been shut down temporarily and then they're reopened. So that's the last thing I heard. Anybody else?
I heard that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks, Carla. Wow. So there is some, we don't have all the latest information, and that makes it really difficult in these corona times to figure out what's happening, whether to celebrate the close of the markets or to be distressed because they're reopened. And that's part of what I call the corona chaos. We don't actually have all the information that we need. So thank you for sharing from New York. Anything else you want to share?
Well, I'm hosting a spiritual devotional tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If you all want to join, I didn't put it up in the group. I guess I should go ahead and do that. I'll put the flyer up in the group, and that way you'll have information there. But in terms of the virus itself, it's interesting because I have friends in New York City, so like on the Upper East Side. That's a more expensive part of New York. Midtown is expensive too. We have Billionaires Row, but Upper East Side, they have all the hospitals there, so there's a lot of educated people living there, whatever that means. But for some reason, they're having a harder time, like the stores are having a harder time enforcing social distancing, whereas in my neighborhood, our stores are totally enforcing it, and the citizens here are compliant for the most part. I don't see, like, you can't get in the store without being permitted into the store anyway. So I'm curious to see what other, but I noticed this causing stress for my friends on the Upper East Side, because like sometimes their neighbors or, you know, the other store patrons aren't wearing masks, but they are. And so, and also the warmer weather. I just read a news report that a certain religious group was having funeral processions in the street, and the police were having to break them up. And the police are like, you're putting everyone else in danger by doing this. And then there was a gambling party, there was a drinking DJ party. So, like, I think people are getting antsy, and maybe probably one thing to explore is like how we as vegans can encourage, like, maybe distract people with plant-based food. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think this is the time to share the delicious, you know, let them know plant-based recipes, plant-based food. That is really helpful. And I think your concerns are, you know, we probably all, many of us see that in our communities. Some people are really following the social distancing, and others are not. And so, where does that leave most of us? It's a very interesting time, as they say. So, yeah. Does anyone else want to share?
I do.
Great. Hi, Chris. Do you want to share? Tell us how you're doing.
I've been in here since the beginning of March, and I'm kind of feeling like, I've had it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm a nervous wreck about, oh my God, you know, I go out there and get the groceries, and I'm going to get coronavirus and everything, you know, but I'm healing. But I'm thinking also, on some level, this has got to have some positive things come out of it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing, Chris. And I know that has been, you know, an issue. We have to, how do we get food from the store? I noticed some people in our group tonight were talking about having a CSA, having the food, it may come delivered. That's really helpful. So you don't have the fear of going to the store. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Anyone else?
Same time, I'd love to go to the stores.
You do? To get out, just to get out of the house?
Yeah, it's like what I used to say to my dad, you know, I want to go to the dollar store, you know, but you got to get down to the dollar store. The heck out of the house.
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing, Chris. Anybody else?
I'd like to share, Lisa. It's
Please.
Linda from Philadelphia.
Hi, Linda.
Good to see you. So what I'm feeling tonight is the song Quiet by Milk. And I've just been sitting here singing it to myself because I feel like this is our moment. I feel like this is our moment as vegans. And there's never probably been a better time where we can really sort of narrow down a whole range of social issues to like one thing, which is a non-vegan diet. And so I feel like it's time to speak out, and I find myself scared. And so that's kind of what I wanted to share about tonight. I'm feeling scared. I feel this part of me that wants to shut down and be quiet. Like I have my little communities where I talk about veganism, and everybody that knows me knows I'm vegan, but I don't post a whole lot of stuff because I'm so scared that I'm going to be ostracized or judged, and I think there's a time, that time has passed, and I need to let that go as a way that I've been living my life. So I just kind of want to give voice to, there's a part of me that feels very scared, and there's a part of me that feels like it's my moment to blame veganism and to like put it out there and to let go of some of the things I've been holding on to, because I feel like, you know, we're at the brink of something, and it's too important to be worrying about what, you know, whether my daughter won't get a play date because somebody's mother eats meat, and they'll see it on Facebook and they won't invite my daughter to some party or something. Like we're beyond that now, you know. So anyway, I wanted to share that, but it's so good to see everybody.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that, Linda. It is like a special moment, and then that fear comes up of I'm the one who's got to share this information. So I relate to what you're saying. Yeah. Anybody else want to share their experience or
Let
comment
me,
about that?
if I
Sure.
can, talk something out. It may seem
And
unrelated,
Alan,
but
this is Alan.
oh, I'm
Alan
sorry. My name's Alan. I've been with you guys and a friend of Lisa's for a long time. And
in the
advocate
Los
of,
Angeles.
I'm from Los Angeles. Yeah, we're from all over the place. That's right. One thing that you got to keep in mind, this may seem almost like, who cares? But we have to rethink everything we're doing in our regular patterns in life. And one thing we have to do, to the extent that you can't, believe it or not, is to drive your car. Because I had an experience where I decided the last couple of weeks I'm just going to let my car sit and just do a lot of walking, get some exercise, and everything be fine. And then I tried to start the car to go to get some groceries. The battery was dead. So I said, "Oh, okay, yeah, the car's trying to tell me it's a machine, but it needs to be taken care of also." So I had to call AAA to get battery going and all that kind of stuff. And they said, "Drive your car a little bit. It needs exercise just like you do." The one thing that I've been thinking about with the way nature is sort of teaching us a lesson. Many years ago, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, there's a movie that came out that's called The Happening. And some of you may remember what that was about. It was sort of a horror picture, but no monsters. And the story was that man intrudes on nature so many ways and takes control of things that finally nature decided to get back at the human race. And, you know, they say animals can move out of the way when human beings encroach on certain territories, but the plants and trees can't go anywhere. They're kind of, you know, victims of what we do as we are abusing the environment. And in this movie, the story was that the plants, trees and stuff like that started splitting something in the air to cause the humans to kill themselves. So it was people dying because nature says, "Hey, you can't treat us as badly as you are and get away with it. We're going to get back at you. We're going to find a way to make you regret the abuse that you're doing to the environment around you." And now we're dealing with a thing that's about the billionth the size of us, you know, a tiny, tiny microorganism that's taken over the world. I mean, the world's on its knees right now, everybody, everywhere. And it's saying, "Hey, you know, you think you're the boss and you can abuse nature?" The answer is no. Nature is in charge and you have to show respect or you're going to wish that you had. And now we're all, you know, learning a lesson. The human race is learning a lesson that they better not forget. We know who the boss is, and we know what we need to be doing as we show respect for ourselves and nature and everywhere else. And lesson learned. I hope lesson learned. So that's what I basically wanted to say.
Thank you, Alan, for sharing. That's very profound. That's part of the significance of this event, a worldwide event. Anybody else? You're
I
welcome
would
to
like
share.
to share.
Please. Hi,
Yes.
Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. Lisa, you've been a huge inspiration, and I'm feeling like.
Tell everyone where you're from so people know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So my name is Alyssa, and I'm in Monroeville, Pennsylvania, which is a suburb of Pittsburgh. And the skies are a bit clearer here, and the water's a bit clearer. And I've kind of, I guess, realized my optimism, and I'm counting my blessings. Things have not really changed for me because I've been at home for several years, kind of writing a book. And so it's been interesting to see how people are reacting to being at home. I'm just encouraging everybody to if you can, build a garden or minimally grow sprouts on your countertop. I'm really excited about these moments in time. I feel like it's the great transition of the world and that we're really all honored and blessed to be here at these moments in time. I've been watching the Food Revolution Summit, which is free over the past, I think today was day 9 or 8. Is anybody else watching that?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. This is day 8 today. Mm-hmm.
Me too.
I'm
Day
really
8,
behind on it, but I'm watching it. I'm about 5 days behind. But yeah, it's easy though. I've seen
it's really inspirational, and I'm just
Yeah.
excited about a whole bunch of things. But
Yeah, it's
yeah, I
great.
just wanted to put in my 2 cents that I think it's time for us to really speak our truth and be our truth. And I'm seeing some transitions within my own household. My husband and I are plant-based, and our daughters are here and they're not, but things are shifting as the days are going by. And just the other day, our daughters made, they make some stew, that's been really hard for me, but I'm just letting that go because this is important. These are our daughters. But they said, would you like us to make some without meat? And I said, yeah. And it was really good. And so there's lots of lessons to be learned, and just reconnecting with family. I love the person that said the first person that spoke, that they're connecting with family members. I'm going to try to arrange a reunion from like all around the world, cousins, like either this Sunday or next Sunday. Not this Sunday, one of the next 2 Sundays, and just, it's such an opportunity to kind of break out of our usual patterns. And so that's what I wanted to say, just to infuse some positivity and creativity, and knowing your power and wisdom. This is the future. Veganism is the future, and the future's now, and it's happening. And I personally, excuse me, I apologize, but I'm not worried. I think that this is it. This is beautiful. And I'm going to tell one more quick story. And this is the story of Mr. Red. Mr. Red is either a squirrel or a chipmunk who was in the early part of the lockdown, was like outside our window. We live right up against the woods. And we just kept noticing this animal like running like madly back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And we named him Mr. Red because he's kind of red with a bushy tail. And unfortunately, the other day, our next door neighbor, I was outside, we were spreading some compost around, and she ran out of the house and said, there's an animal there, and his back end is like mangled, and you're going to have to kill him. She's looking at me and telling me this, and I'm looking at her like she's out of her mind. And then it turned out that it was Mr. Red, and I don't know what's going on right now, but I feel like the animals are speaking loudly. They're coming out. They're active. They're teaching us things. We've got ants running around our house. I won't kill them, so I keep taking them outside. But the lesson I got from Mr. Red is that there's all different kinds of people. This animal, there's all different kinds of animals, all different kinds of sensibilities. And this animal was like a spastic animal. We think maybe he had rabies, or we don't know exactly. But the message was, he was like rushing around. And for me, I'm just feeling like we have all been rushing around for so long. It's time for us to stop and go inside and realize what's really important, and then just reemerge. There's birth, there's death, there's, anyway, I'll stop here because I've been ranting along, but yeah, blessings for everybody sharing their story.
Yeah, thank you, Alyssa. And for those who don't know, Alyssa runs our vegan spirituality group in her area of near Pittsburgh. And yeah. So if anybody does find a wild animal that's injured for any reason, you can take them to the local wildlife rehabilitation center. And that's often a nice thing to do, because if they do have an injury that can be healed, they can take care of it. And if it's something that can't be healed, then they do offer like a humane euthanasia for them. So it's just something to know. A lot of people don't know that exists, and there are some places in these areas where we can take them. In California, we have near the Los Angeles area, the California Wildlife Center, which is a good spot. So thank you for sharing your story about Mr. Red and all your positivity about veganism. Yeah. Anybody else want to share?
Oh, I just wanted to, I agree on the sprouts. How do you pronounce your name, Alyssa?
Alyssa.
Yeah, the sprouts are great because you can grow them on your kitchen counter, and every day you can watch them grow. And then when they're just like a very short height, they're so nutritious for us. And broccoli sprouts in particular, just take a handful every day, and they can reduce our cancer risk. And
Yeah,
so
yeah. The
wonderful.
idea, you can easily sprout mung beans, for example. You just soak them overnight, and then you water, rinse them a couple times, and then by the third day you can sprinkle them on your salads. And I like what you said, the idea of attending to something every day is really meaningful, and it gets your mind.
Yeah, it's fun watching it, and then you can see the life take place from the seed to the plant, and then you eat it, which is just a miracle. That just blows my mind every day. But even picking fruit off the tree just blows my mind. But another thing I think that's really exciting that's going to come up soon, because there's a lot of negative thoughts about this coronavirus. But I think a positive thought is I can foresee somebody creating a documentary about the virus, and then they're actually going to mention the wet markets, but they're also going to mention our factory farms, the chickens, the pig farms, and then I think I just foresee that's going to become a little bit more publicly known. That's a big issue, and that's going to push veganism further and faster. So I'm looking forward to that. So
yes,
let's push people to make those kind of documentaries, and let's want to do it ourselves too. We have enough time.
Right, if we're inspired. That's really interesting. So if anyone on our in our meeting tonight, if you happen to know of a documentary, you can put it into the chat box, or you can type it into the Facebook feed. Anyone that follows that. There are some films that are coming out that maybe even checking out. I think Jane Unchained has done a lot of interviews. She runs her own news network, Jane Velez Mitchell, and that promotes a lot of this worldview of veganism and looking deeply at what is the impact of the coronavirus. So that's a great place to find some of that content.
I'd like to share, Lisa, too.
Please, Manny.
I'm Manny. I'm from Los Angeles, a suburb of Los Angeles. And it is so great to see all the vegan spirituality people across the country. So I would say that's a positive thing. This telecommuting I see some good in it. I don't want to be forced into it. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about a little bit, is one of the reasons I seeked out vegan spirituality is because I see them going together. I see them going together in doing no harm to any beings, like ahimsa, and living in harmony with everyone. I love what Lisa said about you're enjoying this time, and it's so great that we can enjoy this time. I just want it to be by our own choice and not being required to be in place. And especially vegans, I think that we have very strong, as a rule, there may be exceptions, but in general, we have very strong immune systems. And I think a lot of our truth-seeking finds lies in big pharma and big farming and a lot of things that are being perpetuated. There are more lies trying to be perpetuated in name of coronavirus to possibly promote hidden agendas. And one of them would be like vaccines. So along with, government forcing us under house arrest, even though we're the healthiest people around. And I think the gentleman that said that the police said to the person, "You're putting people in danger." Well, that's a blatant lie. He does not know whether that person is putting the other person in danger. That is a generalization. There's no due process. And they're sending us all to our homes in the fear that we're going to put people in danger. I think that we have our own sense. If you are vulnerable, then you're going to quarantine yourself. If you are vulnerable, then you may wear a mask. If a restaurant, if you don't believe a restaurant is clean, you're not going to eat there. You're not going to frequent it. And I think that it's time to let us have our lives back and us make those decisions for ourselves. Because the reason for the shutdown was the hospital space and the ventilators and the ill preparedness, and all those things have passed. And they do it in the name of science. They want to prolong, in Los Angeles, they're prolonging the shutdown in the name of science. But it's not a complete science. It's like the science that the tobacco companies use to support their position. So whatever science they point to points to their narrative that you have to be in your home and you have to wear gloves and you have to do all these things that they're going to force you into, versus the complete science would say, look, we're going to have more suicides, we're going to have people not getting their biopsies, you're going to have strokes at home without care, you're going to have appendices burst. And all these things may be uncommon to us because we're vegan and we don't really get those things, but it is common to, in 350 million people, you're going to have somebody with their appendix burst. And those numbers are not being acknowledged and quantified. And that's just the health issues, you know, anxiety, mental health issues. You have livelihoods. My friends louding the loudest, I mean, yelling the loudest, have full paychecks. And of course they want to stay closed. You know, it's like a vacation for them. But it's real stress if you don't, you know, and people don't want to have government handouts. That's not the solution. So I guess, so let me get back to the happiness. The happiness, I think that people will appreciate their freedoms and they will get back to basics. I see that in my daughter. She just FaceTime me from the desert. You know, she's enjoying this time, which, you know, that's great for her, but she's very happy. Kind of like what Elise has shared. So I'm hoping that people can sift through what's lie and what's truth and point to places. I'm glad there are places that did not shut down, like South Dakota and Sweden, because hopefully in this post-mortem they can see that, hey, they got herd immunity. With us, it's a lie to say that they can prevent people from getting it, because if we don't get it now, then there's gonna be a second wave, and then eventually everybody's gonna get, you know, 50 to 70% of us are gonna get it, either now or later. The point is, don't overwhelm the system so you don't have unnecessary deaths. And protect, we know we need to protect the nursing homes, we need to protect the immune deficient, but anyway, those are kind of my observations, and I'm happy to be vegan. I'm happy that they're having trouble keeping over the meat plants. Tyson's having trouble because they're, you know, they seem like a breeding ground for disease. Anyway, I'd like to hear alternate viewpoints. You know, that's just my perspective in all this.
Yeah, well, thank you, Manny, for sharing your perspective. And yeah, anybody else want to share?
Oh, I just wanted to add to Manny's thought that the flu of 1918, there was no vaccines back then. It's gone. So it disappeared without vaccines. That's something to
how
think
come we
about.
how come we didn't stay locked down since 1918?
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lisa,
So,
I'd like to share.
yes, please. And remember to say your name so we all know who you are.
Okay, hi, I'm Savannah. I'm from LA. So for me, it really hasn't been too much different, or at least it doesn't seem different, because I prefer to be at home and I prefer to be with myself, and I prefer quiet. But my school has transferred to all online and I get to work from home, fortunately. As far as like spirituality goes, it's been a really amazing opportunity to tap more into like aligning more with my highest version and maybe doing those things that I wasn't able to do when I didn't have time at home. And I've been sprouting mung beans too, so that's really fun. And as far as veganism goes, I can only speak for myself, but for my activism, I feel like it's really reinvigorated me to once the shutdown is over, like go back out there with even more love and more positivity, and just really, really sharing with people the great journey that veganism is, and all that comes with it, and all the growth that comes with it. And also like relating that back to the fact that if we weren't doing this to animals, this probably wouldn't happen. And all of these viruses and horrible diseases wouldn't exist. So that's a little bit about my perspective. I think that hopefully this has given people a chance to come back to themselves and maybe shed some stuff that they don't need anymore. And I just feel like it's a real time for growth, even though it's scary. I think we're going to come out of it more positive and more connected. Yeah, so thank you.
Wow, thank you, Savannah. That was just so inspiring what you shared with us. Really beautiful. So anyone else who wants to share, who hasn't said anything yet? We have a bit more time. I'd love to hear from a few more people.
Okay.
I'd like to share. Whoever that was, you can go first.
Oh, me? Oh, okay. Oh,
Carla.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Carla from Philadelphia. And so, yeah, it's great hearing from everybody. It's really wonderful just to connect and hear what people are going through. And then, just also, I do feel like, it's like a tipping point, but I also feel a lot of like sadness, like a lot of mourning. I guess I have to be in touch with that, like so much sickness and people dying, and and not being able to, as people are dying, they can't be with their loved ones, because of this virus. They're separated, and people are having trouble having funerals, and tens of thousands of people are dying. So I do feel that heaviness, and so a sense of mourning too, like there's a lot of loss. So I just wanted to put that out there. And also the animals too, like at first I was really like happy that the slaughterhouses were being, shut down and everything. And then I, like learned how a lot of animals are they were being bred, and then there's like not a market for them, and then workers are getting sick, and so like they're killing a lot of animals just because they don't know what to do with them. Like throwing away a lot of food too, like tons of plant food, and then killing threatening to kill animals, like millions of animals, because they don't know what to do with them. It's just tremendous, like horrible things happening with that, and there's in Delmarva. I don't know if you know that, like Maryland, Delaware, just the Delmarva, and Virginia. Yeah, I don't know what's happening. They've been threatening to kill 2 million chickens. I don't know if anybody's heard about that. Like they're trying to figure out how to kill them, like, because they don't know what to do with them. And so, a lot of the petitions have been going around and trying to save some if we can. And they're talking about, ventilation shutdown or the foam, and like all these different ways to kill these innocent beings that were, been bred into existence. And then there's no market for them. Then there's no workers that they were going to be killed anyway. But it's just horrible. So there's I feel a lot of sad, like sadness too, like I'm just saying, I want to share that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Carla, because actually I read an article which I posted on Facebook just about that same thing, about so many animals, because it's a production style, almost like assembly line.
Yeah.
When they're not being slaughtered, then the farmers need to figure out how to slaughter them themselves, and they're actually requesting mental health benefits from the government, because it's stressing them out to have this, have to kill the animals, I guess, themselves. So it's very, it's a
Yeah.
very troubled time as well. I mean, I think that's part of it, is holding both sides. There's a lot of sorrow, and then there's a lot of, time for introspection, and there's time for,
Yeah. Oh,
building
yeah.
the positive well as, within too. So.
Oh, yeah, there's room for all that. Yeah.
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 Yeah. But thank you for bringing that up, because that's really important.
Yeah, because a lot of baby animals are, yeah, they're, I think I read that article too about the baby pigs, or like, they're like, we don't want to kill them. And, it's this whole, it's really traumatized. Like, the whole thing is just, well, the whole system is horrible. That whole, it's bringing it to the forefront. I think a lot of people are facing it, having to face, face it. Maybe they didn't want to face it.
Yeah.
How horrible the system is. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Carla. And
Yeah.
Dave, did you want to share?
Yes, I would like to. First, I'll share a little bit just about my personal experience with the sheltering at home. It's been an experience I've enjoyed personally. I mean, I perceive I really get a lot of nourishment from being around people and community, but I also get a lot of nourishment from being more by myself, and so I'm enjoying that aspect of it, and a chance to work on some things that I need to take care of that are important, like doing some repairs around the house and things like that, creating some order. And just want to share my thoughts and hopes and just about the whole thing, because it's just so much at once. I think there's of course people who are dying, and I'm just so aware of, like in New York City and some other places where the pandemic has hit really hard, where the healthcare system was overwhelmed to the extent that it was, and a lot of extra suffering there, just a tremendous amount of bodies they don't even know what to do with, and of course people who are really struggling economically, and who are really struggling just being secluded in their homes as much as they are. And at the same time, I see so many reasons to be hopeful about things. I'm glad to be, I think as challenging as this was, with so many people suffering and dying, I think it would have been way worse if we weren't sheltered at home as we are. So I'm grateful for a chance to contribute to that. And I know it's easy for me to say, in a way, since I'm not struggling as much. And I think overall people would have struggled a whole lot more. I'm hopeful just about a lot of things that are happening in terms of the earth just getting a break, just so much less driving, just pollution being able to clear itself up some. I hope that could be lasting in some ways, because we're learning, a lot of people who haven't telecommuted before are now. So I'm hoping maybe some of that will last for a while, and we may not need to drive as much as we have before. Of course, people with Bill Maher's video that Marina mentioned, and just in general, people taking note to how animal agriculture hurts us humans in terms of spreading, in terms of viruses jumping from species to species, also in terms of how much more vulnerable we are to bacterial infections because of how much less effective antibiotic is as a result of animal agriculture, and so many things. I think a lot more people are aware of how interconnected we are, and if we don't have a healthcare system that takes care of everyone, really everyone is less well taken care of. And just so many things to be hopeful for, and I'm really inspired. I'm really just hearing the different stories and ideas people shared. I hear there's so much hope that a lot of us have for a better future. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm complete.
Oh, thank you so much, Dave, our wonderful co-host, and also for sharing your experience and your positive, hopeful point of view. So
Is it too late or
oh,
can I go?
please, oh, go ahead, please do.
Well, it's past 7, so I'll try to keep it brief. It's talk about some less ventured thoughts.
What's your name and where are you from?
Owe from Los Angeles. I am thinking this might be a good time for people to think about something FDR as well as Bernie Sanders talks about, which is to entitle people to have a decent paying job. And it would be a sign of a society that's headed for some place that I would find much better. And it's probably a good time to speak up about it. It's also a good time to watch out for fear-based decision making, whether it's climate change or whether it is coronavirus. The more scared we are, the more likely we're going to not only be accepting, but actually demanding from our officials, the government officials, to just require something to be released into the environment without a whole lot of testing. And I think that's just a very dangerous thing we do, where we release things into the environment without an abundance of caution. And the last point I would like to make is, it's a kind of happy thought, but might sound strange to a lot of you. In some European country, they did a study and they estimated that about 22 trillion insects were killed every year due to driving. So this coronavirus has probably saved trillions of animals around the world as we are not driving as much. We're only driving for essential purposes for the most part. So just something to think about.
Oh, that's a wonderful thought, Owie. I love imagining the insects of the world thriving, and I've actually seen many little caterpillars just descending from the sky where I live, and they seem to be doing really well. So,
And all the bears running amok in Yosemite without tourists. It's so great.
yes, that is such a perk to see. Some of us might have seen on Facebook the animals around the world, like in a I think it was a park in South Africa. The lions were on the road where usually it's a very there was a lot of traffic there, and then the lions took it over, and that's it's just wonderful to see these the wild animals re-inhabiting some of the cities. I think there were goats coming into parts of England, and
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So that's something that we always wonder about. What would happen if humans weren't here? Well, this is what would happen. The animals they would come back and they would reclaim the spaces that they once had. So it's really kind of heartwarming to see that happening.
Yes.
So now our mission is about how do we take all of these wonderful experiences, and some tragic, some wonderful, but also to bring back with us with this recent Earth Day, with the new Earth as we might think of it. How do we bring this in back into to keep it so that we can coexist with the animals? We can coexist and bring some of the more virtual events and some less pollution. Some of these I think we learned that we can actually do that as an earth, as a community. We can actually help to heal the earth in some ways that we didn't think were possible. Yeah. And a lot of it happened in a very short time. So just a couple of months, there's been a lot of cleaning, cleansing, purifying of the earth, and also lots of tragedies. So it's why we as vegans, we have big hearts, because we have to hold it all. We're holding all the love and also all the sorrow, and I think that's a very sacred role to have in our communities. So I want to thank each and every one of you for sharing from your heart tonight, and for bringing us into your world a little bit. Even though we're sheltering in place, we can still be connected and still be together. And many of us, even on this call, have different opinions, and that's okay. That is okay. We're all here to support each other, even with those differences. So it's really just been such a pleasure to host this event tonight, and also with Dave and just to encourage people that if you want to stay connected, we do have vegan spirituality communities in different places around the country, and also the Vegan No Meat and Mingle group. So there's ways to reconnect in person when we get that chance, and when we can do real hugs instead of virtual ones. And meanwhile, please stay tuned to some of these online events, and I hope we'll be able to kind of build on this. And the purpose of this also is to create community. So please friend each other if you didn't know each other before, make those connections, because that's what's so vital and important is that we have this like-minded connection with other people who feel that same way that we do, so we know we're not alone. And so we can shelter in place together in a way. So it's really just wanted to give everyone a blessing that may you and your family, human and non-human family, be safe and find the positivity, the silver lining in this experience, and also open your hearts to those who are suffering. So
thank you for hosting, Lisa, and I hope you do this again once more before we scatter out into the world.
Yes. Well, stay connected with us. You can stay connected via veganspirituality.com or on our Facebook page, Vegan Spirituality. And please do stay connected. And please reach out to me personally if you'd like to. We have a vegan spirituality group in New York, but nobody's running it. So if you would like to be the one, it is all yours. It is fully paid for. You would just be the one to organize the event. So feel free to reach out to me. You can find me at Yes, you can friend me on Facebook or veganspirituality@gmail.com, or lisa@idausa.org. So really such a pleasure. I'm going to do our gallery view so we can all be together and see one another. And there's a really fun little way of closing that we could do. It's if you haven't learned this, there's a gentleman, Frank Lane, who's part of our community. He runs our vegan spirituality group in Orange County. And you go like this, you go, Namaste vegan. And the idea is that you're making a V with your hands. So and Vince, you know about this because you've seen this on other calls. So it's just a fun thing to do, and you can teach it to your friends. So it's Namaste vegan. Yay!
Namaste vegan.
Namaste vegan. How beautiful. Such a treat to see everyone and their vegan blessing. Oh, thank you for joining us tonight and for enriching our lives and for being part of our community. It's really lovely and very special.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
If anyone's needing support or just to talk things through, just a chance to be heard about anything that's going on, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, one of the co-organizers of the Facebook event page, if you don't know another way to reach me.
Yes, and speaking of that, if you are feeling emotionally distressed, our In Defense of Animals runs an animal activist support line, so you can call us. The number there is 800-705-0425, and that is for free counseling. And we also have a texting, chat, and email that you can find at idausa.org/activist support. So again, thanks to everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Lisa. My heart is so full of love. This is such a blessing. Yay. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night. Good night, all.